What's going on, good people? Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. And if you can see and or hear me, you already know what time it is. It is time for the mic drop. And baby, we're going to drop it tonight. You hear me? Do you hear me what I say? We're going to drop the mic on tonight. If you have not let your people know to get on, I don't care if they on the other side of the world, send them a message, get on the mic drop. We about to do some for real chitter chatter on tonight. We have great conversations every Tuesday, but we about to go in on a little something on this evening. So let your people know. Let your people know. Get on in. Get on in the room. Get on in the room. Okay. For those of you who do not know, if you are new to the mic drop, you happen to see one of my posts and you said, let me check out what this lady is doing. Let me introduce myself. I'm so ready to get into the conversation. I almost forgot. So I am Nishika Melton, and I am your simplified productivity strategist. I get you to the finish line from vision to implementation without the overwhelm, the burnout, the unnecessary stress. I help you get to your definition of success. I take out the guesswork. You don't have to guess. I guide you. Okay, that's what I do as a simplified. Now, StreamYard won't let me put all that on here, chat, because they got limits. Okay, simplified productivity strategies. That means that my resources, my tools, they make sense. They don't disrupt your life. They do challenge you, hey, but they make sense and they're easy to follow. Okay, so that's me, y'all. If you saw my post, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, okay, you saw what we gonna be chit-chatting about on today. And before I get started, my OGs have already put in the chat. Listen, put in the chat where you are watching or listening from. I know some people may be at work, you may be driving, and so you're listening while you're en route. That's great. 10 and 2. Keep both hands on the wheel. Don't get pulled over, honey. Do not get pulled over. Do not get a ticket. But if you can, type in the chat where you are listening from, city and state. And if you're listening from another country, give me that country that you are listening from, even if you're watching or listening in the replay. Okay, I want to know where you're chiming in from so I can shout you out. Greensboro is always in the building. My OGs from Greensboro always come in. They know what to do. They're leading the way. Hello, GSO. Okay. Y'all, I have been talking to people, listening to people. We just came out of an amazing conference. If you follow me on social media, which all of my social media is Nishika F. Melton. Nishika, middle initial F, just like you see it on the screen, Melton, just no periods or anything. You saw that I was hosting a women's conference, Position for Purpose. Well, I was also the chairperson, and I had an amazing committee, and we had amazing speakers. And in listening to the speakers, God gave me the topic for tonight. One of the speakers talked about how And as you're coming in, put your city and state in the chat. Put your city and state in the chat. Let me know where you're chiming in from. One of the speakers talked about how if you're always that negative Nancy, or, child, how people like to say, I'm just keeping it real, and yes, the neck be moving. Y'all know what I'm talking. I'm just keeping it real. No, sometimes you keeping it negative. Sometimes you keeping it dramatic. Sometimes you keeping it unnecessary. Okay. When you stay on that negative plane, did you know that science has shown that your brain literally shrinks? Where my sounds at? Let me get to y'all. And this was from a medical professional, a physician's assistant, which is just one step below an MD, a doctor. Okay. So this ain't somebody who got it from AI. You hear me what I say? Okay. They hold offices in various boards and whatnot in the medical field. Okay. Y'all, when you stay in that negative space, your brain starts responding. Now, I ain't calling nobody nothing. Okay, I'm just saying what I'm saying. If your brain is shrinking, the term you don't have much sense takes on a whole nother meaning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you feel what I'm saying, just put in the chat, say, I feel it. I feel it. Your brain literally, and I know some of y'all laughing at me, y'all are rolling. Y'all, your brain literally shrinks. It literally shrinks. And when you stay more on the positive outlook, and this is obviously over a period of time, when you stay on the positive side of the spectrum, you actually grow more in your brain. So when you think about Mr. Rogers and how he was encouraging children, my generation, okay, I'm 50, my generation and older, to be positive, to think on a different perspective. There is science behind that. Literal research that has been done. If you are not in a place where you can take notes, you gonna have to go back and hit the replay. Because I'm listen, we about to drop some knowledge, and I want y'all put your questions in the chat. This is a place where you can ask your questions. Ask. Because we have to do some shifting, y'all. We know, and go because we've heard it for decades, that stress will impact your blood pressure, increases your blood pressure. It can give headaches. We know that it impacts our health. Okay. And negative thinking, your mind, it impacts all of that. It impacts all of that. And the Bible says, whatsoever a man thinketh, man generalized for mankind, whatsoever a man thinketh, so he is. Whatsoever a man thinketh, so he is. Let me go in. Let's talk about mindset. And I'm reading from my notes. I ain't even listen. I'm not even trying to memorize because I don't want to get it wrong. All right. It says the definition of mindset is an established set of attitudes, beliefs, or mental state that shapes how an individual interprets situations, approaches goals, and behaves. I'm going to read that again. Mindset is an established, that means it's built, it's foundational. When they talk about racism is taught, it's a mindset, it's a foundational set of attitudes, beliefs, or mental state, and it shapes how individuals interpret solutions. So if you have that person who, no matter what you present, they always tearing it down, tearing it, that's their mindset. That's a negative Nancy. Okay. Their brain is shrinking. You can't ever say anything right. It's always negative. It shapes how an individual approaches goals. If everything is so hard, y'all know, in the seat that I sit in, I hear that all the time. And my thing is, why you whining? Why you whining? Either you want it or you don't. Either you hungry or you're not. But it shapes how we approach goals. Do you see it as a mountain that has already defeated you? Or you like ready, set, go, let's hit it because I can break it down? It also shapes how an individual behaves. So we're talking about how, not just what people say, but how they say what they say, what their body language is doing, how they interact with other people. Do they cower down because they never feel like or never think that they are worthy? Let me tell you something. There's probably a very thin line between arrogant and confident. I think it is a very thin line between arrogant and confident. I had to teach myself because I when I was growing up, I was not a very confident person. It was not instilled in me. Those conversations were not had. Okay. And so I had to learn how to be strong just out of sheer survival. And I remember going into rooms and just being that person to be in the corner, who's going to talk to me? Who do I know? Ooh, everything was always awkward. Can we say that is not me on today? Because I shifted. I shifted my mindset. I shifted my mindset so that when I walk into a room, my mindset says it doesn't matter who they are, who they think they are, who people have told them they are. They need to know me. And I carry that wherever I go. When I walk into the room, kaboom. Y'all, now I know everybody on here not saved, but depending on the generation you came in, Wu-Tang Clan had this sentence in one of their songs. It said, kaboom, guess who stepped in the room? To cow. That's how I handle things. That's my mindset when I go into a space. That's how I look at it. That's how I approach it. And there are different types of mindsets. And I'm not going to give an exhaustive list, but you need to think about where you are in these and what you need to work on. Whatsoever a man thinketh, mankind, so he is, he or she. You have the growth mindset. And that's the person who sees failure as an opportunity rather than a limitation. Layman's terms. You may not hit the mark, but you don't give up. You rework. You go back, you examine, you see where you slipped. Maybe there was something you forgot, maybe something you didn't take into account. and you do it again. That's growth. And y'all, as you come in, put into the comments where you are watching or listening from, city and state, as well as if you're listening from a different country, put that in the chat. Put it in the chat. I love interaction. I love interaction. And as you have questions, put them in the chat. If you are the person who, when you don't hit the mark, you just give up. I can't do this. This isn't for me. You always need somebody to pick you up. You always need somebody to motivate you because you just can't find the motivation. Can I tell you that that is the opposite of growth mindset? That is a lacking, that is a deficiency. Well, I don't have high self esteem. Why? Answer, because you don't know and value who you are. There has to your mindset needs to shift. What you have built or what you have accepted as your foundation needs to be broken up. It needs to be broken up. I remember I had a conversation with my youngest daughter. I want to say it was either her senior year in high school or maybe her freshman, sophomore year in college. I want to say it was her senior year in high school. And the guys that she was interested in, I just stopped right in the middle of what I was doing. I said, you know what? Go on in there and sit down. We need to talk. Because you ain't been paying attention. You don't know your value and your worth. So let me holler at you for a minute. Because you ain't been listening. Okay. Now you can't tell sister girl nothing. You know what I'm saying? She fully believes and fully knows and does not need it confirmed. But I had to have that conversation again with her because what she was building on was not the foundation that I laid. So I had to come in and tear all that up. Okay. Because what you're not going to do is cower down. What you're not going to do is dim your light. What you're not going to do is settle. And while I was speaking to her, I'm also speaking to you. What you're not going to do is accept what other people say about you. They either come up to where you are or they take another seat or they get off the bus. Beep beep. Do I have a beep beep sound? I don't think I do. Oh, they can get off the train. Okay. Y'all hear that train whistle? Let me do it again. Okay. That's what can happen. There's also a fixed mindset, believing that you are not good at math and therefore cannot improve. So you believe that this is your forever place, that there's nothing, no amount of training, no amount of networking, no amount of anything that you can do to change where you are. It is locked in. That's a fixed mindset. It is locked in forever. Now, I don't think I've come across anybody in that mindset where they felt like nothing could help them ever and they weren't willing to try. The fixed mindset, they believe it and they will not do anything different. You can't convince them of anything like that. The abundance mindset says there's enough for everyone, enough for everyone. and they always view the glass as half full. So the abundance mindset says, you're not my competition. I don't have to compete with you. We can collaborate. We can work together. There is enough for everybody. They don't try to manipulate, they don't try to sabotage because they understand that there is enough. There's enough for everyone. They understand where the Bible says your gifts will make room for you. So you don't have to be paranoid. You don't have to target people. We see a lot of that on social media now, where a lot of these people are getting their followers, getting their clicks, making their money off of tearing other people down. You don't have to do that. The abundance mindset says, I don't have to focus on you. We can work together. We can help each other, but I don't have to do anything against you. And I can focus on my goals, focus on my end result, and connect with you where it makes sense. But I don't have to tear you down with my words or my posts or my whatever. I can actually lift you up because it's not going to negatively impact what I'm doing. That's the abundance mindset. Scarcity, obviously the opposite. The glass is always half empty. There's never enough this and never enough that. The doomsayers, no matter what you do, it's not ever going to be good enough kind of thing. Okay? They believe resources are limited. So they are competing, or they won't even try because they don't feel like there's enough room. One example that I've given consistently when I've done trainings, when you think about fast food restaurants, right? Now, where I am in North Carolina, you will always see a McDonald's, a KFC, a Bojangles together. Them suckers follow each other like it's the thing to do. Now, there may be different restaurants thrown in there. There might be a Arby's, might be a Wendy's, something like that. But those three, the McDonald's, the KFC, the Bojangles, they're never worried about what the other restaurant is doing because they understand their niche. Okay? They understand, and when I say niche, they understand who their market is. So they don't have to sabotage. They know that there is enough. Because you can have 5 people in a car and all 5 people want something different. I remember when we were in high school and college, we would park in one parking lot, excuse me, and then everybody would go to whatever restaurant they would want to go and get their food to go. And all of us might go into a different spot. That's the plan. That's the restaurant's plan, to provide options. So when you have that scarcity mindset, you're intimidated. You won't put, if there is a Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's, you won't put a Whataburger because you're like, oh, there's already enough burger spots. But the people who go for Whataburger or the people that go for Chick-fil-A are not necessarily the market for McDonald's and Burger King. The price point is completely different. Okay? Entrepreneurial mindset. You focus on opportunity, innovation, and taking calculated risks. That's the entrepreneurial mindset. Now, there's a lot of different mindsets. I said I wasn't going to give an exhaustive list, and I can't. I can't. I'm not. Why does mindset matter? It's your foundation. It's what you're building on. It's what's propelling you or blocking you. Remember what I said at the beginning. That negative, so that would be your scarcity, that would be your fixed, that mindset, and constantly feeding the negativity is shrinking your brain over time. It's preventing new layers, new synapses, new neurons from growing, from being triggered. Y'all must be writing away because ain't nobody in the comments. I must be saying I'm on tonight. I love it. I love it. Now, the next thing, so that was mindset. Okay. That was mindset. The next thing is mental strength. Mental strength. Now, if you remember, I talked earlier about, or in my posts, what's weighing on your mind? What's making an impact on your thoughts? What are you recycling over and over again? What is it that you need to let go? We hear people talk about mindset. There are mindset coaches. If you don't know how to break up that ground yourself, and that's literally one of the things that I do in the very beginning when I'm getting to know a client. A lot of times, I'm gonna say 10 times out of 10, I've had to start with mindset because their mindset isn't where it needs to be. And there are a lot of people that talk about mindset. Mental strength, we don't hear a lot about. So let's talk about mental strength. Mental strength is the capacity to manage emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in healthy ways. Healthy ways. That's mental strength, enabling you to cope with stress, overcome challenges, and persevere toward goals. It's what makes you, along with the guidance of Holy Spirit, it's what makes you unstoppable. It's what makes you unstoppable. I had taught a lesson, and it was during a time that my health was like, we was fighting. We were fighting. I was going through some things that literally I was on the cusp of being anemic, and I've never been anemic. And I said that the statement that I made, that I'm going to do what God has told me to do. If I can't run, I'll walk. If I can't walk, I'll crawl. But it's going to get done. There are no other options. That's mental strength. It's not easy. And sometimes it takes all that you have. Okay? But the mental strength, you know how to manage emotions. Even, child, let me tell you something. Even when your gangster is being tested and tried at every single angle, I have had them days. I have had many of them days, to the point where I just had to say, God, what's mental strength, the capacity to manage, not ignore, not suppress, but manage emotions, work through emotions, make sense of emotions, thoughts, behaviors in healthy ways, enabling you to cope with stress, overcome challenges, and persevere toward goals. It involves emotional resilience, a positive mindset, and self regulation, not suppressing, where you press it down and ignore it. None of that. Emotional regulation is controlling reactions and understanding your emotions so that you can handle pressure. When you have that positive mindset, you view the challenge as an opportunity rather than a threat. It's we know that people attack us, we're attacked spiritually, we know that. And if you were watching or you've listened to the podcast that had Brian Johnson on it, he said something that was very powerful. He said, you don't go through it, you grow through it. That's a positive mindset. You view the challenge as an opportunity rather than a threat. Resilience, bouncing back from adversity and growing from setbacks. So the wind may blow, but you bend, you don't break, because you're going to come back. And it doesn't mean that you don't get tired. Okay? It doesn't mean that you don't need to take a break, because you might, but you bounce back. And it doesn't mean that you're going to hit 100% of your goals 100% of the time. That's not what this means. When you're resilient, you bounce back and you grow. You reflect and you grow and you move forward. You handle pressure by staying focused. You overcome your setbacks by rebounding, looking at what you need to do different. As I mentioned earlier, thinking about maybe some things that you left out, which happens all the time, but you don't dwell on the setback. You don't dwell on the failure. You don't dwell on the sabotage. Because let's real talk. There are some people out there who will sabotage. There are some people out there who will try to sabotage your integrity to other people. You take note, do what you got to do to pivot, and you keep going. You set boundaries. You say no, not yet, without any guilt at all. You set the boundary and you maintain the boundary. Okay? You set the boundary and you maintain the boundary. This is mental strength. And you adapt or you pivot when necessary. How many times do we on our GPS, it'll say rerouting, rerouting, rerouting. Does that GPS care how many times it has to reroute? Nope. When I was in Atlanta. I was at the Author All Stars conference, and child, oh my gosh, that traffic in Atlanta from 4:30 till about 7. Y'all, it don't make no doggone sense. It don't make no sense. And my GPS rerouted me going in one direction, just trying to just get to the event space 6 or 7 times. And I wish I had the people that were in the car with me during that time because they could confirm it. Because there were accidents along the way. Are y'all picking up what I'm there were accidents, there were mishaps along the way. So the GPS rerouted me so I could still get to my destination the quickest route that was available at the time. That's why that's what pivoting is. When there is a mishap, when there is an accident, you reroute and you still get to your destination, the or your goal, the quickest way possible based on the available routes. And then self-care, which looks different for everybody, but it means you're taking care of you. And again, let me say this again because we hear about self-care, and for women a lot of times when people talk about self-care, it's getting your hair done, getting your nails done, getting feet done. That's not relaxing time for me. It's not, because when I'm getting my feet done, I am literally, and I only get my feet done like twice a year. I'm watching them people. I'm watching everything they doing, making sure it's sanitary, making sure they have clean utensils, making sure that that nail file don't look like it ain't been used before. Because people come out of those places with all kinds of fungus and everything going on. So those are not relaxing times. A relaxing time for me is being in a space where I can shut the door. Nobody calls my name. My phone is off. And I'm either watching TV, I'm playing a game, but it's just me. That's my self care. So you have to figure out what that looks like for you, not based on other people's definition, but based on what actually relaxes and resets you. What relaxes and resets you. Now, Wanda said it is for me. Honey, we know. On top of you are the spa queen because there's going to be a massage somewhere in that calculation. Yes. Yes. How do you build mental strength? It's something you practice every day. And when I say practice, I mean practice. Like I told you earlier, when I was growing up, I wasn't outspoken. I wasn't outgoing. I didn't know who I was. And I had built the majority of my life on what other people said I should be doing. Can we say those brakes have been pumped? That is not my story now. It has not been for a while. Okay. But I was grown with children before I pivoted. Grown with children. So don't think it's too late. It's not. But you have to define first what your boundaries are. What are your boundaries at work? What are your boundaries with individual family members? Because all of them are different. And I'm gonna tell you something. Let me tell you, all family ain't friendly. Hello. Huh? Everybody in your family ain't for you. So you have to have boundaries for each individual person. Some family you don't fool with. Come on now. And then you have to be willing to stand on those boundaries and practice it daily. No matter how much a person whines or cries or whatever. Not my monkey, not my circus. What? Not my monkey, not my circus. No harm, no shade, no disrespect. But if I jump into your crazy has the opportunity to jump in and own me. Let's not. Okay, let's not. Building mental strength, you have to reframe how you think, how you're processing things. You have to be willing to challenge statements. And challenging doesn't have to be disrespectful. It could be a simple question of, why did you say that? What made you say that? Why did you think that? What brought that thought on? And it makes the person who's talking also think, well, girl, that's how it's always been. Been where? Who have you been around that it's always been? Because that's not what I've experienced. So help me understand from your perspective. Help me understand from your perspective. That's not aggressive, but it's a way to challenge by helping them to think and process. Okay? You're challenging their mindset. You're challenging what they have built on without being aggressive. Now, if you saying it with your neck rolling and your hands on your hips and you all that, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay? Mental strength is also giving yourself grace and compassion. You know, the person that we're normally hardest on is ourselves. We will give other people all kinds of excuses, all kinds of grace, but we expect us to be perfect. Why is that? Stop that. Stop. I had somebody ask me one time, why don't you do ABCD? You know what my answer was? Because I don't want to. Hello. I don't have a long drawn out answer. I don't want to. Period. I don't want to. I do not want to. And they kind of they kind of looked at me like, what? I don't want to. I don't want to. Have compassion and grace for yourself. You are growing, you are building, you are filtering. Everything is not going to be perfect. And accept that from yourself. Okay? Take action. Be ready to pivot. Be willing to pivot. Be proactive in taking action. Be proactive. Be proactive towards your goals. How you define success. And if you have not taken the time to write down your definition of success, please start there. Please start there. Because how do you know what direction to go in? That's like being mad at your GPS, but you haven't given it an address. You haven't given it a starting point and an ending point. Define and don't be, listen. Yeah, I'm trying not to fuss. The coach was coming out in me for a second. Whew, let me breathe. Let me breathe. Everything does not require everybody's opinion. When it comes to defining success, you don't get to ask anybody else what that looks like. That is your definition. Let me see if I can say it with a smile. That is your definition. Okay? You get to define success for yourself. And if you have to pivot multiple times, it's okay because somewhere there was a mishap or an accident. But you can still pivot and reroute to get to your destination based on the quickest available route. I have had to learn to give myself grace. We're not frozen. I'm letting that get down in your shana now, because you need to give yourself grace and compassion. And one of the areas that we find the hardest in giving ourselves grace in, because we'll replay the situation and replay the situation and replay the situation, is in regards to people that we allow to get close to us. Because we'll go through that. Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I see it? The signs were all there, you know, and we missed it. You reflect, you take notes, and you pivot. You count it as a learning experience. You pay attention and you pivot, because we are not going to understand, we are not going to see, we are not going to acknowledge 100% of the things 100% of the time. So give yourself grace and compassion when it comes to relationships and connections. I was talking about when I had Hannah Olivas. I love saying her name. When I had her on the podcast, I had mentioned Myron Golden, the man who has six-figure days. He can make six figures in one day. And the average person is just trying to make that in a year. He talked about how he lost everything. 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 And he had this friend that when he was doing pretty good, he showed this friend how to maximize in their business, because they were losing a lot of money and they couldn't figure out where they were losing it. They couldn't figure out where they were losing it or how to stop it. And so Mr. Golden came in, showed that person what to do, and it worked. And their business went through the roof. Well, when he lost everything, this friend was giving him, I think he said, like $4,000 a month for him and his family, while he was pivoting. Mhm. He made some bad decisions that cost him everything. But while making those bad decisions, he also obviously made some very good decisions. He made a very good, fabulous connection. And that connection took care of him and his family until he built again. And now this dude got money. He got interest. Let's not even talk about the money. He got interest that he will never spend. Give yourself grace. You're not going to get everything right every single time. Now, I had asked the question, because like I said, mindset is talked about all the time. Mental health is talked about all the time. We don't hear about mental strength. So I asked the question, what's the difference between mental strength and mental health? And I Googled that question. I Googled that question, and it said, while they are related, they are not the same. Mental health, what everybody markets and talks about, I want to say March is Mental Health Month. Mental health refers to the overall state of well-being or the overall presence of illness. It could be one or the other. You could be doing well, very well, or very bad. Okay. You could be, high in the skies or down here in depression. It's the overall. Okay. Mental strength represents the ability to navigate through that state and handle life's challenges. Did you hear me what I said? Did you hear me what I said? So you can recognize your mental health, but if you don't have mental strength, then you lack the ability to navigate. Where am I? Let me get my sounds, because I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that one more again. I'm gonna say that one more again for the people in the back. Hold on. Hold on. What do I want? What do I want to use? We're gonna use the explosion. We're gonna use the explosion. So while mental health refers to the overall state of whether it's well-being or illness, mental strength represents the ability to navigate through that state and handle life's challenges. That's my drop the mic moment. Let me do it again. Hiller. That's what mental strength is. And that's what you need to be focusing on. Where's your mindset? Because that's your foundation. Okay. Yes, mental health. Everybody focuses on mental health. And we have 50 gazillion ways to identify whether we are, mentally healthy, or whether we're in depression or anxiety or whatever. That's great. Congratulations. Where's my applause? I'm going to do that with a smile. Mental strength is being able to navigate through whatever state you're in. Because even if you are considered mentally healthy, you will still experience some low moments, some challenging moments, some frustrating moments. You're going to experience some frustrating people, because we don't get to pick our coworkers. If you're working a 9 to 5, you don't get to pick your coworkers. HR does. And if you're working in tight quarters, oh my goodness, because I've been in that cubicle world. You might have a great person to your right and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs to your left. Do you hear me what I say? And you don't get to pick either one. But your mental strength shows you how to navigate through whatever you are encountering. Your mindset is your foundation. Check your foundation. I did, and this hour went by fast, y'all. Lord, it beat. I did a 30-day journaling challenge with the people in my Facebook group. I'd actually posted it on all over my social media. And we had a calendar. I had prompts that I sent to everybody who said that they were going to be a part of it. And in that journaling process, you were able to see where your mindset is. Because journaling has been scientifically proven to identify patterns. Patterns in your mindset, patterns in your behavior, both in how you act and how you speak. Patterns create habits. Habits create cycles. Do, do I need to say it again? The journaling was able to determine patterns. Patterns. In other words, help to identify what your mindset is. So I would encourage you, if you have not done it, or maybe you did it and you haven't gone back and read, we did it for 30 days. Journal. If you're not sure what your mindset is, journal. Think back on how you responded to your lowest, I won't say lowest, your most challenging time. How did you respond? How did you react? What were the thoughts that were going through your mind? Because thoughts become actions. Actions become behaviors. Behaviors become habits, and habits become cycles. How do I break this cycle? Go back to your mindset. Go back to the foundation. And then once you know what your foundation is, what your mindset is, then you can build your mental strength, which is how you navigate. I hope that this has been helpful for those of you who are watching the replay. Make sure in the comments you put your replay in the comments. You can still ask questions in the comments when you're watching the replay. I do get notified, and I'll be more than happy if you have questions, put them in there, even on the replay, and I will answer them. I'm not saying that I have this down to a science. I'm just saying I'm a hard nut to crack. Anybody who is around me is fully aware. I am not easily shaken. And when I'm working through something, most people can tell when I'm working through something because I'm quiet. Because I'm working through and figuring out how to pivot. And then once me and the Lord work that thing out, is boom. I'm off to the races. And it's like it never happened. These are conversations that we need to be having with ourselves, with our spouse, if you're married, with our significant other, with our children, with our friends. Mindset, mental strength, and mental health. So, per usual, thank you all for watching. Again, if you want to follow me on social media, regardless of what it is, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, Nishika F. Melton is what you will look for. If you are, let me put some of these comments up here. True that. I got to put that up there. Pay attention and pivot. If you are looking for a community where it's about getting the work done, it's not a I may talk about my school community a little bit later, but it's not one of those places where it's going to be all the Mr. Rogers quotes, where it's all fairy tales and unicorns. You're coming into work, you're coming into shift, you're coming in to get it done. Yes, there's going to be encouragement. Yes, we're going to have fun. Yes, there's going to be all of those things. But if you need me to help you figure out why what you want is important, My school community is not where you need to be. I'm learning to say it with a smile. It's not. Will I encourage you? Always. Always. Will we have a great time and laugh? 125%. But will all of it be cute little quotes all day long? No. We're going to work. We're going to work. We're going to work. And we're going to get across that finish line. So you all have a fantabulous, just check my social media because the link, let me see if I can put it in the chat. Y'all hold on one second. I can put the link in the chat and I'll put it in the comments if you're ready to do the work. Okay, that's not it. Hold on. I thought I had copied and pasted it for something else, but hold on. And this is to my school community. That is the link to join. And again, I'll put it in the comments after. School is already started. It has already started. It is a constant. My school community is this, even though I offer one-on-one coaching and I offer group coaching, the one-on-one coaching and the group coaching have a time limit. The one-on-one is 90 days. The group coaching is 5 weeks. But the school community is ongoing. Even though we are doing work, the school community is for that person who needs a really affordable option and they may not be able to do things within such a tight time frame. So they would join the school community, still go through the same things to get the same end result, okay? But the time frame is not as short. The group coaching and the one-on-one are more of intensives, okay? The school community is ongoing. All right? And so when you click on the link, you get information about it. You can join now if you're ready to rock and roll. And listen, the school community is not just for people who want to have a business. Mm-mm. I don't work with just entrepreneurs. I work with high level achievers. So you got that drive, but you may feel overwhelmed, or you've got that goal in mind, but you don't know which direction to go in. Whether you are in corporate, whether you are, in that 9 to 5 and you've got career aspirations, whether you're already hustling and you're looking to start it, whatever it is, because we all have the right to success. So jump on in that school community and let's make it do what it do, wop wop. All right. Y'all have a fantabulous rest of your evening. Thank you. Thank you for spending this hour with me. And I will see you next week.